All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. Gotta unpause and repause. Actually, that doesn't seem to be working. Oh, for some reason it was minimized. I don't know exactly what happened there. Oh, and I've got to pop up the docket. We've got a lot of news to cover today. We'll get to our sponsors in a moment, of course. First, though, let's pop the docket up. Scott Adams has cancer, creator of Dilbert, frequent political commentator, someone that I've, well, not spoken to interpersonally, but I like his content, and he's been on the forefront of the free speech movement as well. We've got Joe Biden's prostate cancer. This is from Science News, actually, so it tends to be a left-leaning site if they have a political opinion on anything at all. So when they're saying his cancer is incurable, that makes sense. Authorities have arrested New Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office employee, actually, in connection with the jailbreak there. We've got The Atlantic with an anti-Vance article. Oh, we'll go through some of that verbatim because fucking it's ridiculous. Then we have Trump buyer's remorse. Does it actually exist? This is an opinion piece actually from Newsweek. I happen to believe that it does not exist based on polling numbers, by the way. And we've got an upgraded gravity bomb. Yes, indeed. A new nuclear weapon has been developed. And it was ahead of schedule and under budget. This is really, really odd for something that is effectively a government effort, by the way. Taco woman Sandy Ravage. An OPP janitor is facing 60 years for turning off the water to the cell housing those escaped inmates so they could dismantle that toilet. Interesting. I guess that's breaking news. I hadn't heard about that one. Although that might be is that actually the same story? Not 100% sure. It might be the same individual actually being referred to. Oh, it is the same one. Okay. Yep. Oop. Don't want to destroy that. I'm going to try to get this open. You need a knife to open it. It's a big problem. Although it does have an easy open thing, it doesn't always easy open. So that can become a problem. Ha ha ha. I know what we're going to use. Ha 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 ha. Thank you, by the way, very much for this. Got it sent for free. Let's use the meat hook, so to speak. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We always need some bovine. To show our appreciation, we kill everything we see. By the way, I've been working on Nutty Norman and Morbid Stories, so don't worry, we've got some new literature coming out as well. A symbol of my insanity. Wild man, I'm S-faced. Rip my liver. Morning, Sticks. Good morning. Doc Holiday. The next person to be diagnosed with prostate cancer will be Big Mike. That's possible. Sacratus. Sticks. Thoughts on Israel? A lot of people asking me that. I know where you're from, by the way. My thoughts are nuanced on the situation. Orthodox Jews don't even believe, generally speaking, that Israel should exist at all. And when they're threatening to permanently overrun Gaza after the same leader gave Gaza back to the native population, I do have a problem with that, admittedly. I don't have a problem with Jews in the general sense, nor any other group of people. But the state of Israel, in its actions, has been warmongering. I can understand a reaction to, the Hamas hang glider incident. But I think that at this point, it's pretty universally agreed upon throughout the world that it's a little bit disproportionate, just saying. That's what I would say. So I am not a fan of Israel. I'm not a fan of Palestine. I'm more ambivalent because it's like, okay, well, this area has been inflamed for thousands of years. What the hell are we supposed to do? Not really my fight. Groomer Fist, Sticks, thoughts on Jew magic. I've edited some mystical works from Judaism. There was one, I can't remember the title of it. Books blog, link in the description and also pinned on all sites. I edited a work and it was like a collection of jokes about God. Like they put God on trial and stuff like that. It was a very, very strange work, but it was hilarious to read at the time. Should go back and reread it actually. Oh, by the way, I got a copy of one of my own works. This is the one I'm re-editing into the third edition. This is the second edition of Morbid Stories. If you want to titillate yourself with absolute gruesome nonsense and insanity, this is probably the book for you. It's Splatterpunk. It's in the vein of Craig Skip and John Spector. Some of you may have heard of them. They did the Scream and the Bridge, and everything in there is pointed, but it's presented in an almost nonsensical format. And so it's basically it's called Splatterpunk. You should look it up. Personally, I think that it's great. Anyways, let's get to our sponsors before we get to the news, because I've decided to bump it up to the fore. We have cultivated-mind.com. We've got something for the humans. I take them every day. Mushroom pills, bioactivated. Really, really great stuff, by the way. Definitely gives me a boost of energy, just saying. And now, of course, for your doggo, you can get Doggy Dose. 6 double bioactivated mushroom extracts are in there for a healthier coat, for a healthier life, for preferably a longer life, of course, and a better one. I'm just hoping that they release cat treats. We've got BiltongUSA.com. Anton can hook you up with all sorts of crazy stuff. He sent out another package to me, actually. I got a notification on my email this morning. Biltong, various meats, prepared according to South African tradition. Delicious, by the way. Varying deliciousness, but all of them are highly, highly edible. Let's put it that way. He's got goji berries. He's got Bovrite, Marmite, Vegemite. He's pretty much got everything. He's like a living grocery store. And then finally, jamandbean.com. That is JAMN And the tea should be here. Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. I don't have any more coffee to display, but I can display the tea. There are a bunch of varieties of this. Some are caffeinated, some are herbal. And the coffee, we've got the Clank blend, there's a Panamanian blend, there's the Costa Rica blend, all sorts of different coffees. I'm partial to the Clank blend. I think you can probably guess why. Use code STICKS, by the way, on all of these sites. You get a discount. Let's see. What do fuck? Do you have an update on your biochar experiment? I have already begun crushing it. I will be putting it in the soil soon. The problem is that the charcoal once crushed is explosive. So mowing the garden when powdered charcoal is present, assuming it's not wet, is probably dangerous and might result in a lawnmower flying away into my face and cutting my head off, or slashing my face to pieces or something like that. So I've got to apply that first, but before I can do that, I have to do the weeding. That's going to take a little bit of effort, but it is underway. Cooking Inferno. Captain, go out and hunt wild orchids with your camera. Good for the soul. Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy plant life back behind me in the woods. Pretty great. I like a rural existence. Not interested in living in a city. Although if I had to choose a city to live in, I would have to flip a coin between Amsterdam and New Orleans, actually. New Orleans is pretty great. I mean, when you dress like this in New Orleans, you get a lot of attention. The other day, when I was picking up my niece, it was hilarious. Like, I saluted the bus as it went by, and one of the little kids in there saluted me back and was giggling. And then a bunch of people are saying, like, "R" and stuff like that. I'm going to replicate that today. It's going to be grand. I have a great time. So let's get to some serious news. Unfortunately, Scott Adams has proclaimed that he has, ironically, the same kind of cancer as Joe Biden and does not expect to live through this summer. This to me is sad. I may not agree with everything that he says, but he's a good commentator. He's a good author. I've read many of his writings, his screeds online, and a very good cartoonist. Dilbert is one of the best. Dilbert's up there with Garfield and a few of the others as being one of the preeminent cartoons, actually, of all time. And the dude was one of the earlier victims of cancel culture, actually. When he decided to weigh in on politics and say, look, I don't support DEI, I don't support rad feminism and stuff like that, all of a sudden, a bunch of newspapers decided to drop him. He just shrugged his shoulders and, like a trooper, he shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't give a shit. I've lived a long life, made a lot of money, and I don't care about your cancel culture. And it was very, very funny at the time. Oh, they got so mad. I loved it. So, respect to Scott Adams. A salute for you as well. I hope that you go into remission or that it's a false diagnosis. And that you live many more happy years and make many more happy cartoons, because Dilbert is one of the iconic ones, actually, that's ever been in the news. Of course, it's been dropped from half the papers at this point because you had a political opinion. Oh my God, what a terrible, wretched man. You mean he has opinions? He's not supposed to do that. What the fuck? I planted 15 tomatoes last week. All good except one that is wilted. The bottom leaves are okay, but the top branches are wilted. Any ideas why? Could be sun damage, actually. Should trim off anything that's wilting. Make sure to, by the way, tip for tomatoes. Take crushed eggshells, because tomatoes suck calcium out of the ground like nothing else, and put them in the stratum that you originally plant them in. Oh, they love it. So yeah, Scott Adams apparently, I'm hoping that he's just joking. I'm hoping that this is one of his hypnosis sort of moments, and that he's just joking about having, the same cancer that Joe Biden has, and that he will live, another few decades, actually. But he seemed to be serious about it, actually, unfortunately. So hopefully, treatment, sets in and, prolongs his life. Then we got to talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden, apparently they have the same sort of cancer. And this article is actually from Science News. Now, Science News tends to lean to the left if they cover anything that is politically related. They're saying Biden's prostate cancer is incurable, but it is treatable. That's basically what the White House said. He's on hormone therapy. Now, what this means is basically you've reached the end. We're going to prolong your life and try to, in his Spock's own words, we're going to try to increase the quality of life. That means you're dying. Well, we're going to make sure that your last few months on Earth are less painful, that you're actually capable of doing things. You're capable of walking from one location to another. Joe Biden will probably not be alive by the end of Trump's second term. And this is what troubles me. What troubles me is that the people around him knew about this. When they come out and they say, well, he didn't know until this Friday that he had cancer. Bullshit. Dog shit. Horse shit. Human shit. Monkey shit. Every kind of shit at the same time. Bullshit. You knew that he had cancer. You all knew. Oh, there's Anton, so we gotta eat this. You knew that he had cancer, and you didn't tell anyone. Because the hope from the Democratic Party, and this is ghoulish, and Biden probably was not initially aware of this particular plan. The whole goal was to get him back into office, and then Kamala would be able to take over when he croaks. And so you'd have your first female president. That's the only thing that the Democrats wanted. It's ghoulish. If anything, I have to reluctantly say I feel sorry for Joe Biden for the way he was treated. Both right. Every time Anton gets online or super chats, we must take a bit of both right. In remembrance of the deliciousness that he has brought to the world. It is important. So apparently, yeah, Biden is incurable. He is dying. That much is completely clear. Although if you watched the way that he acted for the last couple of years, you would know something has to be wrong with him. Maybe it's dementia and cancer. Panicking Skyfaller. Once the whole legal deal in New Orleans is done and settled, will you explain what the heck actually happened, or keep it private indefinitely? I will. I will explain it. But again, as I said, if you are ever charged with a crime and you have a public presence, do not appeal to the court of public opinion. Appeal to the actual court. Lawyer up and get the case done, then you can explain things. You do not need... I mean, it would be easy for me right now to, in 10 minutes, explain the case. And I think that most of you would give me some sympathy as a result of that. That being said, that would be legally unwise. The court can put me in jail. You can't put me in jail. All you can do is unsubscribe or not give me a super chat. So, use your head. Preferably the big one and not the little one, by the way. Yeah. I'll talk about that after the case is done. I mean, Jesus, I see content creators like they're charged with some misdemeanor. The first thing they do is they turn on the webcam. You idiot. You are screwing yourself. Yeah, you're basically handing more evidence to the state, by the way. Yeah, or the plaintiff, as it may be. It's not necessarily a good idea. Gleaming guitar. All we have is time. I've learned not to waste it. Exactly. That's why later on I'm going for a hike with my niece. She beat the shit out of me the other day. She loves to whack me with random objects. She can have a little bit of aggression. God, I love her. She's quite something. Also has green hair now, actually. What do fuck? Using my big head keeps me out of trouble. Using my little head generally gets me into trouble. Don't I know? Speaking about the New Orleans case, authorities have arrested an Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office employee following the escape of 10 inmates. Originally 11, but one was recaptured immediately. The Louisiana Attorney General's office confirmed Tuesday, the Associated Press reported. The arrest comes after a fourth inmate who escaped from a New Orleans jail Friday was captured Monday in a New Orleans East neighborhood and flown to a secure state facility, as hundreds of local, state, and federal authorities scramble to find 6 still on the loose. I believe it's now down to 5, by the way, according to Louisiana State Police. It turns out that a maintenance worker there disabled the water system to the toilet to allow them to drill through. Now, it's not entirely clear whether somebody drilled in or somebody drilled out. Evidence will show which is the case based on the presence or lack of debris on one or the other side of the wall. I was surprised, though, to see how thin the goddamn wall was. I would figure, if it's a prison where you're holding people that are alleged to have committed homicide and shit like that, I would have assumed that the walls would be a little bit more impenetrable. It looks like you could ram a small car through the wall. Well, there go all the inmates. And then Landry came out, and he's right. And he says, this is the result of DEI policies. This is ridiculous. And then I think it was, again, the commissioner or chief, I can't remember which one, fired back and was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's more like, hey, build the walls a bit thicker so that people can't drill through them with probably a pick or something like that. It makes no sense. Yeah. Maybe I'll go to maybe I'll do a jailbreak. I'm just joking. I wouldn't even bother. Cooking Inferno, you've been on fire today with commentary. Keep it up. Find native orchids. Yeah, don't worry. I'll grab some of those up if I see them. Still, never physically seen one of those before. Let's see. JS Sticks, have you seen the new song Manson did with Falling in Reverse called God as a Weapon? No. Marilyn Manson released another song? That's what I'm talking about. You just made my day. Oh yeah, 1 day ago. I'll have to listen to that after the live stream's over. Thank you very much. See, I'm subscribed to Marilyn Manson, and all sorts of people. I never see any notifications whatsoever. The talented Mr. Vance, J.D. Vance, could have brought the country's conflicting strands together. Instead, he took a divisive path to the peak of power. The Atlantic is casting J.D. Vance. Let's summarize the article. They're casting him off as a lunatic egotist who's hell-bent on simply becoming president of the United States, who doesn't care about anything else but ambition, effectively. That's not what I see. What I see is somebody who is skilled, reasonably charismatic, and well-spoken. He has a military background. This is, by the way, important when you're going to become commander of the military. The only other option is you're somebody like Trump, who is simply gung-ho and understands foreign cultures for diplomatic purposes. Otherwise, it's good if the person has some military background. J.D. Vance is no slouch. J.D. Vance poses a problem, and at its core is a question about character. In the years after the 2016 election, he transformed himself from a center-right memorist and public speaker offering a complex analysis of America's social ills and a sharp critique of Donald Trump. It's called politics. You're supposed to attack your opponents. Into a right-wing populist politician whose illiberal ideas and vitriolic rhetoric frequently out-Trump the original. Man, are you trying to sell me a product? Because that's effectively what you're doing with this article. Man, he's less of a neolib than Donald Trump himself? And he's more vitriolic? Okay, I think that I know who I'm going to vote for. According to Vance and his supporters, this change followed a realization during Trump's first term that the president was lifting up the fallen working class of the heartland that had produced young J.D. To help his people, Vance had to make his peace with their champion. No shit, Sherlock. According to his critics, Vance cynically chose to betray his true values in order to take the only path open to an ambitious Republican in the Trump era. And as a covert, under suspicion, he pursued it with a vengeance. In one account, a poor boy from the provinces makes good in the metropole, turns out against his glittering benefactors, and goes home to fight for his people. In the other, the poor boy seizes every opportunity on his way up, loses his moral compass, and is ruined by his own ambition. They're trying to criticize J.D. Vance effectively by saying he was nothing. This is like the Claire McCaskill video that I did this morning. Basically, this is the po' boy. This is the poor boy from out in the bayous or the hills or the mountains or something like this. And all he has is ambition to rise up. And then, he backstabs the people that were fundraising for him and stuff like that. He decided to backstab his benefactors in order to achieve power. That's not what I see. What I see is quite the inverse. I see effectively a rags to riches story. Yes, he comes from the working class. I identify with him on this. I came from the lower echelons of the working class myself. My father was a chef at a small town, well, not even really town, restaurant. My mother was a stay-at-home mother, then did housekeeping for a while. Under the table. Haha, statute of limitations has expired on that. Fuck you, government. And so we were not wealthy. We were not well off in any way. And I managed to work my way up to the point where I have almost a 500 million views just on YouTube alone. Um, so the fact that I'm doing that doesn't have to do with me trying to seize power. It has to do with natural talent, actually, more than anything. And a little bit of help from my friends, of course. Thank you, Sargon and others, and quartering. And so that's sort of the way that it lays. J.D. Vance, I think, was chosen as a counterbalance more than anything else. Younger, well-spoken, military background. I think those were the three main qualifiers that Trump looked at in him and said, you know, the fact that you criticize me, it doesn't matter. If you're running in politics, sometimes people clash, and politics makes very strange bedfellows. J.D. Vance makes a good Vice President of the United States. He has done a very good job, and he's probably going to be the next President of the United States. I'm perfectly happy with that. The idea that this is some rube, some backwards suspender snapper from the middle of nowhere, and oh, he only got where he is by backstabbing us. No, he worked his way up. He worked hard. That's more than you can say for the average goddamn politician. Most of them, they got into law school because they were reasonably intelligent, and then they did a bunch of shifty shit, and then they got into the rotten barrel, so to speak. I think Vance will do a fine job. And I would be surprised if he wasn't elected. Cooking Inferno. No, for Lucifer's sake, leave them in situ. Just photo. You don't need more jail time, and I'll send you a guidebook you can annotate. What do fuck? J.D. Vance is just the latest boogeyman of the left. The left always needs a boogeyman. They learned from Adolf how to villainize. Well, to be clear, the Republicans kind of do the same thing. We'll be honest here. There's a nuance channel. S.C. Woods, yesterday's Fox Plus, Fox Deporte, the Spanish language sports channel. Yeah, I didn't even know it existed. Probably because I don't speak Spanish. Ravage, Manson's playing in NOLA tonight. God damn it. Shit. I would have loved to have gone to that. Robert Von Darth, since you like piratey things and swords, have you considered a formal study of cutlass fencing? HEMA. That's my hobby. Yeah, I might get my hand chopped off, though. I am good with swords, but in sword play, like, usually if you're using a sword, you're not using it against another person with a sword, because I carry mine mainly for self-defense. Largely against animals, actually, more than anything else. When I'm going hiking, if a bear wanders out in the woods, well, a sword is better than nothing now, isn't it? You jab it in there just right, and, you know, you get mauled, but, you know, maybe the bear dies before it kills you. The Emperor's Champion. That Vance AOC debate is going to be hilarious. I can't wait to see it. I wonder whose career Tulsi Gabbard will be ending in her VP debate. Yeah, that's my dream ticket. Vance and Tulsi versus AOC and whatever moron she chooses. They're going to get cut to pieces. And by that I mean they're going to be shredded up, then put through a paper shredder, then tossed into acid, and then tallowed out. That would be legendary. Pluto the Ninth. Remember when Biden tweeted, "I'm sick" last year, then panicked and followed up with, "Of Elon Musk, we've been living the emperor has no clothes." Yeah, I do. Deadlight. Did your dad ever work at Stewart's? No, he didn't. No, he worked, when I was younger, he worked at the Mountain Creamery. Then he worked at, what was it? I can't remember. There was one other place, but it was south of here. And then he worked at Ramonto's for like 2 days. By the way, if you're in Rutland, don't eat at Ramonto's. That's a bad idea for reasons. He worked at Seward's for a while. That's closed down. But the owner was like phobic about fire. So he had to like bend down and relight the pilot lights or something like that, and the freezer was all fucked up. So he quit that job, and then he worked at the Hampton Inn, which now I believe is for migrant sheltering more than anything else. I don't know. He had a weird career trajectory. He was also in the Marines. He was one of the youngest sergeants ever minted in the U.S. Marines at the time. Great man. Great father, too. Just saying. Stick Schlonghammer. Forget you, Anton, and your greedy priced products. Yeah, I no, I think that the biltong is definitely worth buying. Even if I wasn't paid to as Anton is my sponsor, even if he wasn't paying me, I'd still be buying some of his products. Cooking Inferno. Are you close to Stratford, Vermont? Got a couple of sites with seriously rare orchids. Happy to guide. You know my ex. Wait, where is Stratford in relation to Rutland? I don't know that I've ever been there, actually. Oh, that's up past, yeah, that's up north of Woodstock. Yeah, I'm in Rutland, so, yeah, I could swing by sometime. That'd be fun. VLGL, no wonder you can cook so well. Yeah, I got the soup gene especially. I cook a boatload of soups and shit like that. Uh, I've only failed a couple of recipes in the time that I've been cooking, and I've been doing that for more than 5 years, so nobody seems to. One time, though, I did make a meatloaf that was way too dense, and I don't know exactly how I accomplished it. It was like a meat brick. And I mean, it tasted fine, but it was, yeah, it's not the kind of meatloaf that I want. Still ate it, though. What do fuck? You and Salty Cracker both have jarheads for fathers. As a former jarhead, this is probably why I watch. Yeah, I've even got an M1 helmet, actually. Sometimes I wear it. Mostly I wear the pirate hat. In fact, since we've only got a couple more news stories anyway, let me go off here and then I'll grab my M1. Yeah, let's wear that. We're going to Vietnam. I'll be right back. All right, everyone. Now we're ready to fight in the war. That's what I'm talking about. I think. Oh yeah, yeah. I unmuted myself. Had to. It's wartime now. Quite literally. I mean, thanks to Joe Biden, we're involved in several Several proxy wars. Eat some crayon sticks. I actually did that when I was younger. Get down! They're gonna bomb us! Ah! Cooking Inferno. BTC and crypto going apeshit right now. By the way, it's pronounced orangutan, not G at the end. I'm gonna say orangutan. BW. Sorry, Sticks. Massey is an op. Our Joe Manchin. This is not the first time he has stood in Trump's way. I realize that, trust me. And now, just when Trump about to score something that people will remember for the midterms, he is conscientious. What do fuck? That looks like an Imperial Japanese Army helmet, but it's not. No, this is an M1 helmet. This is the kind that they wore in, like, Vietnam and shit. This one's a reproduction. I do have an original, but it doesn't have the liner inside, so it sort of sits low on the head. This is actually made out of the same rolled steel, though, so it'll do the same thing. BW, objector. Copium puppies. I can't feel my legs. Yeah, I have too much fun in life sometimes. Has Trump buyer's remorse already set in? It's an opinion piece, by the way. And there's a 30-minute fucking video attached to it. I'm not going to watch that shit. There is no buyer's remorse for Trump. In fact, the Insider Advantage poll, I think, had him at 56% approval, actually, just the other day. It was aggregated on RCP. His approval has remained generally steady, and higher, certainly, than Biden in most of his moments in office. So the approval polling overall for Trump is pretty good. It's very, very difficult to get above 50% at this point with the hyperpolarized politics of the day. So the fact that he can be at least close to that is actually really good for him overall. I would note that after an initial shot out of the cannon for Joe Biden, when his approval was actually really high right at the outset, for the most part, he slipped down into the 30s and remained below 40 for most of his term, actually. Donald Trump so far has managed to avoid this. It has stabilized at a considerably higher level. Now, there could be something that happens that causes it to lower. That is always possible. Trump could have some major scandal, some bill could really, really tank the economy or something, if the economy goes down at all. And much like with Brexit, I predict that the powers that be generally want it to tank and will do everything in their power to cause that to happen. Other than that, or like World War III conditions or something like that, I expect Trump to stay in the mid-40s or thereabouts. 47 for 47, I suppose. Yeah, somewhere around there, that would actually be logical. I think that he's generally doing a good job. I don't approve of everything that he's doing. And the Republicans are trying to out-Democrat the Democrats in terms of disorganization. But generally speaking, I think that things will be okay. Generally speaking, he's doing a reasonably good job. Stick Schlonghammer, you slept so peacefully on the quartering. Yeah, I was suffering from exhaustion, actually. I am a chronic insomniac. Nothing seems to help. The ZQL doesn't help. Chamomile rarely helps. And, it's hard being an insomniac. Mike the Womp. Clank, Tarl. Clank, I say. That hat is better than the other. That's just me. Hope all your shit is good. Yeah, everything's going fine right now. We'll see if it, continues. I see that the Kino crowd and the Kiwi fuckers are here. BW, something is fishy in Denmark. Must be the fish. Yeah, the gelatinous weird ones that the Danish eat. But is there a way around Massey, JD Vance? Massey might get primaried, actually, as a result of Trump throwing him under the bus. Again, I don't disagree that Massey is making a mistake by rising up in the way that he's doing. What I think is that the timing is poor. That is, that right now you need to establish the Trump administration's agenda. If you have a problem with the big, beautiful bill, as it's been billed as, pass it, and then later on amend it. It's as simple as that. You don't need to rise up against Trump in a public manner, giving the Democrats fodder. It's not necessary. What do fuck? That is my old helmet. I'm proud to say I've never worn Kevlar on my head or never had an MRE, only sea rats. I'm old. And my dad talks about the sea rats. Apparently they were also giving out K-rats for some time as well. Yeah, the M1 is the most iconic military helmet of the US military, at least. Also apparently works well. They exchanged it for a different kind of helmet. I've got one in the 1980s. I think it was 81 or thereabouts. And it had sides here specifically for audio equipment more than anything else. And it was made of I don't know exactly what it was made of, but somebody tested the helmets out. And I watched a video of it. The M1 will at least absorb a 380 round. The newer helmets would not. They were literally just for flak. It was like a flak jacket for the head. There was a reason why they cycled that out within 10 years. SC Woods, wrong helmet cover. Should be a reversible tan and green camo, not a net. The net is a World War II vintage. Say hi to your dad for me. Former USMC, same era. Semper Fi, by the way. Yes, I know this is a reproduction, but it is made of the same kind of steel and has the same spanner inside as the original. Inland Surfer, sing along with Country Sticks and the Fish. 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, because I don't give a damn. Next stop is Vietnam. King of Biltong. Sticks eats our biltong, and so should you. Packed with B12, creatine, iron, and zinc. A great addition to a healthy diet. Go to www.biltongusa.com. Code STICKS for 10% off. Anytime you super chat, we have to eat Bovrite. I'm not complaining, though. It's fucking delicious. Delicious. I bet that the soldiers in Vietnam wish they had biltong and stuff like that. They would have enjoyed that. would have been better than the contents of some of the sea rats. I had one once. Although I will say, the coffee that was made then is still good now in some cases, and it is superb. And I keep getting instant type 3 instead of instant type 2, which is like the most perfect instant coffee that you can possibly imagine. I keep getting it every single time. I open a goddamn MRE and it's always instant type 3. Where's the instant type 2? Instant type 1, that was more acidic. Type 3 is okay, I guess. But type 2 is like the smoothest instant coffee that you can get. It's nowhere near Clanker Blend from Jam and Bean or something like that, but, you know. We're at war, motherfucker. Bobby Robinson, Sticks, thoughts on Israeli butt cancer? Yeah, a lot of people get butt cancer. Why do people keep saying that it's like a butt cancer that Biden has? It's his prostate and his bones. It has nothing to do with his ass. And it might have metastasized to that part of his body by now. We're not 100% sure. For Sticks, you took off the pirate hat. Yeah, people were mentioning jar heads, so I figured I would show off my jar. Anyways, speaking of warfare, far more powerful B-6113 guided nuclear bomb variant joins U.S. stockpile. Yes, and this came in ahead of schedule and under budget. Believe it or not, the government managed to finance a project that actually came in not just on time, but before time. And it cost less than initially expected. This is a golden moment. It's a miracle. Jesus Christ himself had to have been involved with the development of this nuke. which means quite clearly we're meant to use them profusely. This replaces an older weapon that's in the 50 kiloton range. It's a gravity bomb, so it means it's dropped by a plane, like a B-52 bomber or something like that. The old one was 50 kilotons. Now that's a big explosion. That'll level a city. The new one is 300 to 350 kilotons. That will level a lot more than just the city. It'll level the whole metropolitan area if it's an airburst. So we've got a much more formidable weapon for our Air Force to utilize, and I think this is a good thing. We need to modernize our nuclear stockpile. That means that we need to make new weapons preferably faster, more stealthy. Stealth missiles are a thing that's in development by multiple countries. Larger, more accurate, more technologically advanced. I've often thought, what if you made a drone the size of a plane? So this is guilt-free because there's no human involved at all. Make it stealthy. Make it so that radar cannot see it. Paint it with Vanta black, and then fly it in the dead of night into an enemy area and detonate it. They don't even know what hit them. It would be impossible for them to even see it coming, as long as it were at night. This is the sort of thing, the sort of ingenuity that the United States used to engage in. It should engage in it again. Now, I don't believe in using these weapons. I believe in making these weapons, just in case. That's all you have to do. I realize that they have, by the way, weaponized drones. But imagine one that's capable of delivering, something along the lines of a Davy Crockett or something like that, and leveling a military base. Well, you could debilitate the front lines of an enemy in less than an hour. They wouldn't even be able to respond. Their air force is gone. Maybe their navy's gone. They're completely incapacitated. You could even do this to a large nation. And while I don't want to utilize that on a foreign target, eventually somebody will utilize it on us. Imagine China sends a bunch of stealth drones off of what is flagged as a commercial vessel, just a shipping vessel, and they fly onto the west coast. Simultaneously, one is sailing along the east coast and does the same thing. And every single naval port in the nation is simultaneously destroyed by small nuclear weapons. What would that do to our economy and our capacity to fight back? Well, we'd be fucked, basically. The militia would be able to respond if the Democrats weren't constantly trying to steal their weapons. Other than that, the U.S. military would be in complete disarray. It would be a big problem. Yeah, this is the replacement for the B-61-7, actually. Again, that one is 50 kilotons, the new one is 300 kilotons, so hits a little bit harder. S.C. Woods, helmet cover. And there's a link. Oh, yeah, I've seen those. I know. Actually, my uncle, well, he wasn't really my uncle, but a friend of the family that I called uncle, Uncle Bo. Yeah, he gave me some military at one point. He gave me actually fatigues that he had worn when he was in the military. A little bit large on me, but it was fun. I wish I still had those, actually. Sigil, so, Sticks Eye, how's the rest of the 47 7th doing? This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun. It was funny. One time for, I think it was his birthday, I got Dad a CD that had, Marine Corps anthems on it. And we were listening to that on our way to the lake and stuff like that. That was pretty fun. Sticks can find Asian wife with that outfit. One story that my dad told me, when he first joined the Marine Corps, and he was only 17 actually at the time, or just a hair over it, he and a friend had gotten wasted, and they walked into the military recruitment, right? And originally they were going to enlist in the Navy, actually. But they walked into the wrong room because they were wasted and they saw the Marine Corps recruitment footage and they're like, wow, that looks cool. So they signed up for the Marines. And when my dad went down, for training, apparently he had gotten into a bar fight the night before, actually. And so he had a bruise. Drill instructor says, how did you get that bruise? And he says, well, I was beaten up in a bar fight. And the drill instructor punched him in the chest and was like, you're not I, you're this recruit, basically. I can't do a drill instructor voice, although my dad can under the right circumstances. Pilgrim Media, I think the Swedes allow long hair in the military. Personally, I don't agree with that, and I say that as a long-haired dude. Allowing long hair in the military gives something that's potentially flammable right next to your head. That's a problem. Something that can be yanked in hand-to-hand combat. And something that can potentially, if you don't take care of it, under combat situations, spawn lice and so forth. So yes, I believe that in the military, hair should be short. It doesn't need to be buzz cut off, but it should be short. By the way, Alexander the Great actually was the first, I believe, to incept this concept. He commanded that all the soldiers shave their beards and cut their hair short so that in combat the enemy couldn't, grab onto it and stuff like that and rip him to the ground. Which is hilarious. I believe he was the first to incept that concept, actually. And then Julius Caesar was the first to decide that what had evolved from the hoplite would be from the working class, mainly. Haha! Shavisky Medusky. The kitties are hiding because Styx eats a lot of pussy. Yeah. Long hair was not generally a thing for males back in the day. Except for the upper class. They often had, even into the medieval era, usually if you were shaved bald, it was the sign that you were a slave or a servant or from the relatively lower classes. And short hair is like your middle class or, kind of wealthy. Long hair was reserved for people who were in the noble class, nobles and kings and priests and stuff like that. It's interesting how humans operate, because none of these things actually make sense when you think about them. I just happen to like the way that I look with long hair. I don't look good with short hair. C1C1. Jesus had short hair. Fact. Agreed. Being from the working class, marginal middle class, arguably, since carpentry, you could do worse. You weren't a farmer or a slave or something. Yes, he would have had short cropped hair. Hydrogen Atom. Why do you think Cash is lying about Epstein? I do not know. But Cash and Bongino definitely, either they've been deluded, in which case I guess they get a pass, but you're not doing your job, or they're lying. Yeah, absolutely. Epstein did not kill himself. There's no possibility. Look at the facts of the case. Epstein, the cameras go off, the guards fall asleep, the computer is fudged, his cellmate, who is apparently now dead as well, hears screaming from his cell. There's no indicator that he was suicidal, and the coroner's report reports strangulation marks that are inconsistent with suicide. How many more pieces of evidence do you fucking need before you say, hey, he didn't kill himself? Most of the public has known this now for years, but apparently Kash Patel and Don Bongino, apparently they didn't get the memo. And Bongino, by the way, has changed drastically on this issue. Because before, only a few years ago, he's like, to my knowledge, he couldn't have killed himself. It makes no sense. Now all of a sudden he's saying, well, I looked at the case file briefly, and so, yeah, he did kill himself. Bullshit. Dog shit. Pilgrim Media, plebes, working class, i.e. plebiscite voting. True. The question is, did the Unabomber kill himself, says Adam. Well, I think Kaczynski just got old and died. I mean, how old was he when he died? Ted Kaczynski. Let's see, how old was he when he died? Yeah, he was 81 years old, so I mean, Jesus. The Unabomber. Never read his full manifesto. Probably should. Apparently, his IQ was in the 160 range. So he was literally a genius. It turns out that when you're really, really smart, you realize how fucked up society is, and then you lash out at it. Oh, this has been dragged up. Sigil, whenever Cash and Mongino say Epstein killed himself, you can barely see the gun being held to their heads. Yeah, come on. They know that it's fucking bullshit. It's like I have better odds of winning the lottery today without even playing it, because I don't, than that Epstein killed himself. Rupert, sleep more. I wish that I could. Haha, morbid stories. Man, I love this shit. Corpse copulation. Vlad the Impaler sex party. Yeah, there's some fucked up shit in here. It's deliberate, by the way. Making a new edition. The Torrid Tale of Tarzan. Yeah, I wrote one story where Tarzan gets rabies and he starts burning down the jungle and like everything in front of him dies. And then, of course, he dies in the end too. Lung Fart, the scarfing game on steroids. Oh yes, that was one of my favorites. So there's a libertine, and he invites his friends over to do, sex games, basically, because he's a sexual libertine. This is in Renaissance era France. I mean, Revolutionary era France, actually. So he invites them all over, and then he tricks them. He says that he's got a scarfing game, and it's like fake hanging yourself. But then they are actually being hanged. And as they piss and shit, which happens when a person dies, because, he's gourmanded them, so to speak, he basically rolls around on the floor underneath their dying bodies, eating the piss and shit before killing himself. Leper love. That's actually a love story. It's just a disturbed one. Got a couple with Charles Manson in here, actually. Slugula. That was an early work. Man, I had fun writing that. Worthless Drone Hive. Where a dude shoots up his office space and kills everyone. Oh, God. I enjoyed writing every single one of these. Tumor Burger. Oh, that's about a dude who has cancer, ironically. And he cuts off his own tumor and then he fries it and eats it before dying of blood loss, actually. I'm having fun reminiscing. Don't worry. Neckbeard Basement Dweller. And I wonder who that could be based off of. Leash Ficker in the library. Yeah, there's a dude who kills somebody and fucks their dead body in the library behind the shelves and eventually has a stroke and dies. Anyway, don't worry, the third edition will be out soon with lots of new material. And reformatted. There were a couple of minor spelling errors that I encountered, but nothing major. So it shouldn't take all that long, and then I'm doing Nutty Norman at the same time. Nutty Norman, I think, is on... I've done the first 5 sections already, actually. I did several the other day. Rainer, what's with the army helmet, Sticks? Oh, people were mentioning jarheads, like Marines, and so I decided to put one on. I would eat crayons at the same time, but I don't have any crayons at the moment. I don't dare to steal any of the crayons that my niece has over in the living room, because she'd probably pelt me with rocks for doing so. Acolyte. I'm a retired correction officer, 30 years. Anytime an inmate is on suicide watch, you don't let them have any clothing except underwear and a single bed. Yeah, the Epstein case is quite perfectly clear. He did not kill himself. No reasonable person actually believes that. So either Bongino and Patel are irrational individuals, which should worry you, or they're rational individuals who are being coerced in some way, which should worry you. So there is no good outcome to this particularity. Pilgrim Media, I bought a Raven and Crow Call. Corvids are cool. Man, I want one. Damn it, Neuromanic. Styx has a steady diet of V8 and Vegemite. Ah, shit. Yeah, I should have brought one of the V8s out. I had meant to do that before. I've got a couple of them chilling in the mini fridge, but they're not on me at the moment. Sigil, put the pirate hat on over the helmet. Very well. Alright, that's kind of funny. We'll have a challenge, a channel challenge. How many hats can you stack one on top of the other without them falling over? VLGL, pagan is okay by me, but ghoulish necromancy is too much. Your stories are revolting and make me doubt your veracity. Well, this is just written for my own edification. Let me explain the backstory of Morbid Stories. When I was in high school, in 12th grade, I had a teacher that insisted that when we wrote things, we had to do it in the active tense, so we couldn't use to be verbs. So like was and stuff like that. And so it had to be all active tense. And I thought this was strange, and I'm like, that's not the way that I want to write. I prefer the past tense, like describing things retroactively. To me, it sounds more fun. And so I dreamed up this idea called Sickness in Hell. And Sickness in Hell, starting with the first and going on through the 7th iteration, actually, during that class, which became a novel. I've got to re-edit that as well at some point. Was basically, I wanted to make stories as evil and grotesque as possible, simply to disgust the teacher, because I didn't like the lack of to be sort of thing that was part of the assignments that we were getting. This was AP English. And so I made multiple iterations. I actually made my best friend in high school, Nick, I made him gag at one point when we were on the bus showing him, I think, the 7th one. And I did include entries from that in this book, by the way. So if you want to get the 2nd edition of Morbid Stories, you can, or you can just wait for the 3rd edition. But the idea was that I was trying to disgust people. And then I read Craig Skip and John Spector's The Bridge and the Scream, and I realized Splatterpunk was a thing, and I'm like, well, I guess that I'm part of this genre now. And what happened is that I took the original concept from Sickness in Hell, turned it into a novelette, basically. But then I also got the idea, maybe I should just make individual short stories and compile them that are like just completely off the chain. Completely insanity, rape, torment, incest, murder, blood, guts, and gore. Basically make them as crazy as possible. And I think that I've accomplished my goal. Yeah. VLGL is unsubscribing. Well, I mean, I don't know why you would. It's just a book. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. If you're offended, turn it off. But that's your right. I like to make Splatterpunk. Yes, Groomer Fist. I took 3 AP courses. English, US history, and biology. Sticks, when you were in Texas, did you ever wear a 10-gallon hat? No. I always wear my pirate hat when I go out in public. I'll be wearing it later. It's very popular. Apparently now I've got the moniker the Rutland Pirate, quite literally. Apparently I've gone out enough into public, which I hate doing, for people to recognize me instantly. Your name. Yes, the best division of military depends on which hat you think is cool. The best division is the Marines. John Lincoln. Sticks, where do you meet women? I almost invariably meet them online first, with one exception. That was my high school girlfriend. I'm putting the pirate hat back on. Fuck. What the hell? Why was there a glove in my hat? I don't know. Arr, matey. Prepare to board. I should get a pirate hat like this, but then armor it with Kevlar so it's also technically a helmet. That would be fun. Sigil, you should write a story and hire someone like Meat Canyon to animate it. I would love it if somebody used AI to sort of animate some of my morbid stories. That would please me beyond measure. Richard Vernadow. That's a good idea. The Pirate of Rutland should be a morbid story. Write that down. Thank you. Yeah. By Richard Vernadow. The Pirate of Rutland. Richard. Wait, how do I spell Vernadow. What would this go under? I've got to think of what kind of story I'm going to make, and that depends. Which section? I think I'll put it under Lunatic Lit. Yeah, I've got different sections in morbid stories, so it's sort of like subgenres. Like, one of them is for blasphemy, one of them is for insanity, one of them is for things related to animals. And then there's splatterpunk stories. Those are just like, killing sprees and weird shit like that. And then we've got the macabre manuscripts, which I think I'm going to do that one tonight. And the macabre manuscripts are more like, plague and sickness and stuff like that. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Richard. Groomfist. God damn it, all the hell sticks. Why? Get rid of the fucking pirate hat. Do you realize how many people compliment me on this hat when I actually deign to go out in public? Like I said, I was saluting the school buses yesterday while waiting for my niece, and there was a kid that saluted back, and I thought that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And when I wear this to New Orleans, you'd better believe it makes me 1,000 times more popular than I would otherwise be. Also, scammers tend to leave you alone, probably because they think that I'm a street performer or something like that. They probably assume that I'm a local. So it works. Everyone benefits. Bobby, I don't think so. I will never relinquish my pirate hat. It's freshly oiled, too. Sigil, Ailstorm released a new music video. It's on the Napalm Records channel. Ah, sounds cool. Oh, the mail just came. Trev, Sticks, what's your opinion on Gypsy Crusader? Miss watching his streams. My new work schedule rarely allows for me to watch Peace Brother. I haven't seen Gypsy Crusader, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Chris called Butt Pirate. Yeah. I have a great time on these live streams. Once the news is over, you can talk about anything. Young Madman. Sprinkle in a little cosmic Lovecraftian horror, why don't you? I already have, actually. Pilgrim Media. High sodium intake equals kidney blood pressure problem. Yeah, I don't seem to have any such problems. My kidneys and blood pressure seem to be good. Wildman. Google's new as of today, AI prompts and videos are indistinguishable from the real thing. This is going to become a real issue. Someone should have a website archive that is user-friendly for pre-2025. To be clear, I do not care if you make AI of me with two conditions. Number one, if you are profiting off of it, you have to share the profit with me. We can negotiate that. And number two, make sure to show it to me so that I can actually see it because I would find it amusing. I don't care if you put me in a porno. I really don't care. I personally don't see the problem. Sigil, Gypsy Crusader dresses as the Joker and says racial slurs to people on Omegle. You've definitely seen his work. No, I don't think that I have, but now I would like to. That sounds funny. Dresses as the Joker says racial slurs. Yeah, that seems like my kind of content. Copium Poppies. So, you getting one of those plasma guns? I don't think it counts as a gun. I would love to. I should probably clear up my legal issues first before I buy a plasma rifle. Sticks, what's in the fucking jar next to martini? I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. Guess what's inside it? It's literally just a jar of sand. I thought it was funny, people kept calling me Jack Sparrow and still do. So I figured it'd be funny. Pilgrim Media, Sticks, have you seen the amazing AI Grok 3? Yeah, I used Grok quite a bit, actually. One thing, the older Grok was better at creating, like, cartoonish replications of things. The new one is much better at photorealism, depending on the subject, and is much more refined generally, and has better prompts and so forth. The old one, though, I can still appreciate. Like, there were some advantages to the old one. There's something to be said for the more abstract. Quack Sparrow? What about Crack Sparrow? Yeah, if I get into hard drugs, then you can call me. Oh man, that would be funny. I'll find a crackhead when I'm in New Orleans, and I'll put the hat on him. I'll say, look, and I'll give you $20 if you let me take a picture of you with this. Call him Crack Sparrow. I know what you're going to use that $20 for, but I don't care. Oh man, that would be fucking hilarious. I'll get you a couple of rocks. Adam, did you ever watch Red Bar? If so, do you like his jokes? No, I haven't actually. Yeah, we're going to try to find a crackhead in New Orleans. I'm going to go to the ghetto, where, by the way, I feel absolutely no fear. You don't want to wear blue or red in the wrong neighborhood, of course, but other than that, there's no problem. I'm gonna find a crackhead and give him $20 to wear the hat and the coat and get a picture taken. How about that? Let's create some controversy. Pilgrim Media, Grok 3 memeing is becoming a thing. Dems cry, lol. Sigil, Gypsy Crusader is under the name Joker Waffen on Twitter. He doesn't stream on any main site because he's been banned from them all for some reason. He posts clips to Twitter. I wonder why he's been banned with that username. No, Shebisky Madisky, I'll get it back because crackheads are easily tipped over, so it's not going to be a problem. Yep, I'm going to mint Crack Sparrow. It's going to be hilarious. Hey, I'm paying them. So it's basically like a job, Probably the only one they've held recently, so it's all good. Crack Sparrow. Watch, somebody else on chat will do it first. Spoon Clink. Sticks, go on Ryan Dawson's show. It should bring some good insights to the Epstein issue. Yeah, I like Ryan Dawson. I think I talked to him once, actually. Actually, I think, wasn't I on a show with him once, actually? I don't know, I've done hundreds of interviews and appearances, so at some point, you forget. John Lincoln, my trial date is June 18th in New Orleans. Everything's already been arranged to go there. I'm confident in my legal defense, let's put it that way. I'm not particularly concerned. I'm not afraid. So I will be down in New Orleans for some time, and it'll be fun. I'm definitely going on the vampire tour or something like that. So if you're down in New Orleans or planning to be down there around then, just keep in mind you might see me around on Bourbon Street. It'll be fun. Nah, I'm not concerned. It's cut and dry at this point. But I won't talk about the details of the case, 'cause I'm not stupid. It is a bad idea to talk about legal cases in public. In an interpersonal setting, sometimes it's okay. Like, I can talk with my mom about it. She's not going to tell anybody what I say. But if you're putting on a legal defense, you'd best not put that out in public, because if you're a public figure at all, and I certainly am, that can be used against you. Anything you say can and you will be used against you in a court of law. That's quite literally what they have to tell you, by the way. Sigil, Crusader uses and also sells little flag pop guns, and there's slurs written on the flag. A black guy whipped one out on the Piers Morgan show to call another black race activist the N-word. Okay, this is definitely the kind of person that I would enjoy watching then. Inland Surfer, Epstein's family ordered private autopsy. His neck was full of broken bones, too violent for a slow prison cell hanging. Exactly. But apparently Bongino and Kash Patel have no clue that this autopsy ever occurred. Wonderful to know that the FBI is run by two very intelligent individuals now, isn't it? Yes, Rabbit, do not appeal to the court of public opinion. If you are charged with any meaningful crime, now I'm not talking about traffic tickets or something, well then go ahead and bitch about it. If you're charged with anything beyond the most minor of misdemeanors, in some cases finding offenses that aren't even technically a misdemeanor at all, don't talk to the cops. They're not your friends, even if they act friendly, number one. Number two, lawyer up. Number three, Get yourself a competent, do not talk to the public in any way. Don't talk about it as much as you can. You can reference it. Like I can say, hey, I've been indicted by a court in New Orleans and I have to go back there in June and face trial. I can tell you that. But any details of the case that I discuss become legally relevant, assuming that someone that doesn't like me sends it to the Attorney General's office. So I'm not going to do that because I know that I have a lot of people that don't like me. Keep in mind, the Sixth Amendment exists. New debate. Polly want a cracker? Yo, you call me a cracker man? Don't you know that I'm blacker than a lump of tar in a cave at midnight in Nigeria? I've actually thought about doing literal blackface. I thought maybe when I grow my collards, because, I always grow too many so I can never eat them all, I'm going to do a joke where I put charcoal powder on my face and like white lipstick and shit like that. And then I have the collards in the bathtub and then do a Kamala Harris impression or something. I've thought about that. Harrison Bergeron, cops can legally lie to you. However, it is a crime for you to do the same. It is total BS. Yes, except in, I believe that in some states they have now prevented cops from doing that if the person is a minor, which I agree with. I do not believe that the cops should be able to lie to you in order to extract information. But that is the law of the land. Like, for example, well, I'm not going to get into that for legal reasons, but never mind. Just keep in mind, if you're in cuffs and the cops are talking to you, you're already presumed to be guilty of whatever the hell they insist on charging you with. That's just the way that it works. You're already presumed guilty. Now, you're presumed innocent by the justice system, supposedly. On paper, you're supposed to be. But in the eyes of the law enforcement, why would they be cuffing you unless they thought you were guilty of something? Something quite clearly they believe you did. And keep in mind, in legal situations, there's an old legal adage. If the facts are in your case, but the law is not, you argue the facts. If the law is in your favor, but the facts aren't, you argue the law. If neither are in your favor, you pound the desk and yell as loud as possible. Yes, Rabbit, guilty until proven innocent. That is effectively the real way that the so-called justice system works. That's why you keep your fucking mouth shut. If you're arrested, you don't talk to the officers, unless you are sure that you have done nothing wrong. And even then, you can keep it to sports talk or something like that. You should not discuss anything with them. Keep in mind, they're just doing their job. Their job is to arrest you. Their job is to put you behind bars. The judge's job is to find you guilty. The district attorney or prosecutor's job, whatever, is to find you guilty. That's their job. So you either have a public defender or you have a private lawyer. Those are your friends. You shouldn't talk about it in public. Because keep in mind, once you've been charged with a crime, a lot of people, even if they otherwise like you, will assume that you're guilty of the charge. So, keep it at that. Don't talk to nobody. And by the way, if you're in jail, snitches get stitches. Don't tell nobody nothing. And by the way, another thing. And this should be self-evident, but apparently some people still believe this myth. Go to jail or prison. It is not a good idea to go up to the biggest, brawniest man in the jail and punch him in the face. What's going to happen to you is you're going to get ripped limb from limb and smashed against a table. So don't do that. Keep your head down and just, mind your own business. You know, you see the dudes in the next cellar tunneling out. I didn't see anything. I was asleep at the time. What are you talking about? I didn't hear jack shit. You realize that you can literally get like raped to death in prison if you act out too much. Don't be violent, be peaceful. By the way, the people in jail are kind of like bros when you think about it. I didn't have any negative interactions with other people that were in the jail in New Orleans, um, or with the staff or anything, because I was minding my own business and, you know, I was being orderly. So I was being respectful towards the sheriff's officers and stuff like that. I wasn't giving them hell or going off, and I wasn't, you know, tormenting anyone. So people left me alone, and I just, you know, did my time there for a couple of days. Adam, snitches don't get stitches, they get a get out of jail card. Yeah, but the problem is they're in a box at the time. They got out of jail. It's just that they happen to be in a coffin. By the way, I mean, I'm not going to snitch on them anyway. Half of them are probably innocent of their charges. So, you know, asking me to refer them to the guards is not going to happen. Inland Surfer, my friend Becca wants to become crime-fighting telepathic vampire. She's awesome. That sounds cool as fuck. Sigil, anything you say can and will be used against you. It can't be used to help you. Good advice. And tell your lawyer everything, no matter how guilty it makes you. He needs to have no surprises. Yes, that's the other part. Sometimes people have done something wrong, and so they'll hold back from their lawyer. You don't do that. Now, in my case, of course, I don't have that particular problem, but I've heard of people that have been legally hung because they didn't tell their lawyer everything they needed to know. The first thing that a competent attorney will tell you is they need to know all the facts. It is impossible for them to prepare a defense against the prosecution unless you do so. There you go. Corn Pop, turn the fuck off, man. How are you here, man? You're a family boy. I like the username. Corn Pop was a bad dude, but then Joe Biden straightened him out. You know, he wrapped a chain around his head or whatever. Huh. Yeah, there's all sorts of cool. I love doing live streams. Like, I'm getting more and more into it because I get to react to chat, and it's like really great. By the way, I would like to point out everyone hates lawyers until they need one. So give them a little sympathy. There's a lawyer in Rutland. I won't name him, although I've talked about him before. Who's actually a clanker, watches me on BitChute. And really cool dude. Looks a little bit like Burl Ives, actually. And I told him that when I saw him, and he's like, "Oh Jesus, don't say that." That was funny. Yeah, purge the machine. Same with cops. Everyone hates the cops until somebody is trying to break down their door. Look, people are people. Why should it be you and I should get along so awfully? That's sort of my belief in life. It's not that I'm a friend of the system. I hate the system. It shouldn't be working the same ways now. You shouldn't need so many lawyers and so diversified. You shouldn't need so many cops and so many laws and so many rules and so many regulations. But that is the way that it currently operates. People are simply trying to operate within that system. So the fact that a person has a badge on doesn't make them a bad person. Sometimes those people are trying to be benevolent. The fact that somebody is a lawyer doesn't make them a sleazebag who's trying to fuck people over legally. Some of them, it could be a public defender. Their entire job is just to keep people out of jail. You know? Give people a goddamn break, dude. I don't have any problem with cops. I only have a problem with corrupt cops. I don't have a problem with lawyers. I only have a problem with corrupt lawyers. I don't have a problem with judges. I only have a problem with corrupt judges. The same goes for literally every subcategory of the human race. I don't have a problem with orangutans. I even like the corrupt ones because they're orangutans. And I am going to pronounce it orangutan, not orangutan, by the way. Now, you can get, think about it. We do have a so-called justice system in which you can have done something marginal or literally nothing and get the book thrown at you. The justice system is corrupt. That doesn't mean that everyone participating with it is corrupt. Some of them will give deference. You know, it's just like when you go to jail. You're going to find some people are in there, they're minding their own business, they're being peaceable, they're just like, hey, I'm in jail. I mean, this sucks, especially in New Orleans with the food there. It's funny, a city with some of the greatest food in the goddamn world has the worst possible fucking food you can possibly have in its jail. No, I figured that I would get jambalaya. I was mistaken. Keep in mind, though, if you simply be peaceable, most people also are. I mean, you know, the idea of like getting gaped in the asshole and stuff like that, that's not going to happen in the temporary detention facility anyway. And rarely happens in the prison unless your charge is you molested a kid or something like that. Oh, then you're going to get punished. See, the prisoners have good ethics. They're punishing people who deserve it, who have victimized, you know, people who were incapable of fighting back. Or they killed a cop, or, you know, something like that. It's bad to go to prison if you're a child molester, a rapist, or a cop killer. Those are the three instances which are going to be the worst. You probably will get raped. If you're in there for some other, you know, Grand Theft Auto or something, as long as you keep your head down and don't fuck with people, you'll probably be fine. Here's the problem. If you're a cop killer, do you think that the cops in the prison are particularly enticed to defend you if you're attacked? Nope. You might lose a kidney. So it's probably not great to do that. S.C. Woods, judge's job is to ensure that the law is applied correctly and evenly, not to send you to jail. The jury's job is to decide the facts. You have the other two right. Well, you can also, you know, decide to waive trial by jury. I'm inclined to do the same thing. Although this is generally not recommended. In this particular case, which I will discuss at full length in the future, I am likely to do so for several reasons, which I can get into later. Yeah, John Mouse entered the chat. The jury's job is to find you guilty, generally speaking. Thankfully, in the state of Vermont, you can always remind them that jury nullification exists. It's one of the few states in which you can do that. So, in the Vermont case, I'm totally unworried. Dab Shank the First. Styx went to jail and told the biggest black guy, hey, I likes you and I want to know, you can do this the easy way, the hard way. The choice is yours. No, I went to jail in New Orleans and it was 99% black dudes and they were all chill. It was the skinhead that flipped out. I had absolutely no problem at all. Like, yeah, you're sleeping 12 to a room and they didn't have enough blankets for anyone and they had no pillows and the toilets were infested basically. Looks like they haven't been cleaned in months. But people were friendly generally. Other than the food and the accommodations generally being an F minus, you know, it was all right. You can get to interact with your homies. They called me Jesus because of my long hair and stuff like that. They thought I looked like Jesus. And then they were like, what are you in for? And I'm like, battery. Ha 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 ha! Jesus is in for battery. thought that was funny. Then, when I go and redress into my normal clothes, when I get bailed out by the quartering, of course, it's gothy clothing, with a coat and black shirt and boots and everything. And then they're like, he's turned into the devil. So, I don't know, I just find it funny. Jesus the vampire at lol, cracking that whip. Yes, Bobby, my charge is publicly known. I have been alleged to have conducted myself in the manner of battery. I've been very open about this. I mean, it's literally public. Bobby, woman-beating motherfucker. Well, when the case is over, I think you'll be eating some crow. Let's put it that way. Adam, if you go to prison, when you get out, just lie and say you hung out with Manson like everyone else. No, Bobby, I didn't lie about it. It was already public at that time. That is the official charge the state of Louisiana gave me. But I can't talk much about the case. I can talk about my time in jail. I was only there for 2 days. For some reason, I thought I was there for longer. I think it's because the monotony of being in jail sort of scrambles your sense of time. So you sort of lose, I mean, there's no clock or anything like that, so you sort of lose track of what day it is. No, Bobby. Actually, I was literally bailed out by the quartering at the time. Corn Pop, 93 days in jail to beat probation. If it was a Vermont jail, I think, yeah, I'd probably just take the jail time because at least the food is decent. You get blankets and shit like that. It's not that bad compared to New Orleans. In New Orleans, though, I would just take the probation. Yeah. Bobby, please do not do the crackhead prank. It makes fun of a vulnerable person and could go wrong. Um, yeah, no, I'm gonna do the crackhead prank. Yeah. Pre-59 Cuban, I think it's amusing. Styx's prosecutor self-deleted. Yes, you'll remember that incident where the assistant DA actually killed himself right after I got done doing some dark ritualism. Very interesting. He would have been the one overseeing the case before the new ADA decided to come in. Just saying. And no, Green, I am not a violent person. I'm not interested in violence. I want all wars to cease. I want everyone to live in peace. And then we can work towards a more utopian society. Sadly, this will not happen. It's impossible. Human beings, unfortunately, were spawned by an offshoot of chimpanzees instead of bonobos. If the latter had been the case, then we would solve all conflicts by massive orgies. That sounds like much more fun to me. Why do you have to mow when I'm on a live stream? Oh, God. Alright, well, I'm going to let you all go and docket the news for tomorrow because there's mowing going out on the front lawn. This is going to distract the shit out of me, so there's nothing that I can do about it. Pallid mask. Jailhouse rules. Obey the pecking order. Exactly. Just know your place. Be quiet. Keep under, don't raise hell. That's a bad idea. Cheers, King of Biltong. Anton is signing off. Alright, so I'm going to be back tomorrow, don't worry. There's going to be lots of news, I'm sure, because it looks like shit is stirring in the Middle East especially, so we're going to try to cover as much of it as possible. But yeah, somebody decided to mow the front lawn right as I'm on a live stream. Thank you very much. It's real great. That's about all. Peace out.